And welcome, everyone. Welcome to another OSR Tabletop with myself, DM Bloodworth or GM Bloodworth, depending on the game system that I am running. I have two sounds going here. Why? Let me fix this, and I will be right back with you. There we go. So welcome. This is going to be an open floor chat. So anyone is welcome to come on in and, and talk about your gaming or your next convention that you're going to, or the game product that you just recently either backed or purchased and already have ready to start playing. So again, just I was off today. I had nothing else really going on. And I was like, let me do a little live stream to just chat with whether you're my members or my subscribers or just passers through. Everyone is welcome to join in and chat. And let's say, and so Agile Monk, hey, how's it going? Good to see you over in the Troll Lords chat a little bit earlier. Their Twitch stream. So that was pretty cool, and to see you there, and and to hear some of what they have going on there with Troll Lord Games. So much really positive stuff. Did I do something to upset you? You haven't been responding to my messages to you. Where have they been? First of all, of course not. And second of all, where have the messages been going? Yeah, so just let me know where the messages have been going. If they've been coming through YouTube, I tend to get to those comments pretty quickly. If you've been sending me messages elsewhere, yeah, just let me know. If it's on Twitch or Twitter, I mean, on Twitter, I'm pretty up on those as well. So just let me know, and I will try to catch up with them. Hey, Michael, how's it going? Good to see you as well on Discord today and even on Twitch. I might have missed it on Twitch. It's kind of hard to follow those on Twitch, but Discord, I will open it up and check it right now and see. I wasn't on Discord today, so that might be the issue. So as a matter of fact, it's uploading something right now, so it's probably updating my thing. As soon as I get in there, I will take a look at it and I will get back to you for certain. Here we go. And let's see. Awesome. You know what? I'm not in general. No. Let me go up here. To be honest with you, I'm not seeing anything recent, Agile, on my. I'm not. No, it's not on there. So that's weird. The last time you sent me something like a direct message on Discord was on February 4th. So I don't know. Maybe there's something going on here that I'm just not aware of. But anyway, yeah, I apologize for that. All good. Just want to make sure all is. Oh yeah, absolutely. Everything is fine. Maybe system issues. Yes. Like I said, I just checked there, and it's weird. The last thing The last thing I have there in Discord was back in February. And I'm almost certain we've chatted since then too. So that's really, really weird. But anyway, yeah, if you need to reach out to me, I will, certainly post my, I'll put my gaming email address on there. So there is my gaming email address. So you can always reach me there at my gaming email address, and then I'll send you my private email address later on, and then my other one later on. So you can always reach out to me and whatever. So I have been trying to reach out to Chuck, and I was glad to have spoken to Chuck Cumbo, on the stream here, and he's like, "Oh yeah, just email me," because I've been trying to reach Trollord Games about Endless Worlds, which is their organized play, and I've even reached out to a convention organizer here in the East, here on the East Coast and the Northeast, and I asked him about the possibility of setting aside, 3-4 tables for Castles and Crusades organized play. And he said, yeah, that's something that's definitely doable. And I said, I'm going to reach out to, I will reach out to the, to Trollord Games now, and see if I can arrange something with them. So yeah, I know Chuck got hacked. About like 2 weeks ago or so. But I've been trying to get them through the Trollord Games website and have them send, me a text or an email in response to looking to join it. I've been getting told 2 more weeks every week for almost 3 months now. Yeah, so it's they're endless. Their Endless Worlds, I guess, is kind of backtracked with all of the things that they've been doing and whatnot. So I get it. So Chuck is updating the Endless Worlds program too. Yeah. So but yeah, he said shoot me an email, which I'll do right after this stream, actually, and see what's going on there. I signed up 4 times now. Yeah, and I've done it on two different email things, just saying like, because sometimes when I try to send myself emails, like especially to if I'm sending an image or something, sometimes they don't go through on whether it's Gmail or I still have an AOL account that I utilize. So anyway, so that's some stuff that's been going on my end too, as I'm trying to start a new Castles and Crusades campaign. I'm building out my world, so for the first time, I'm going to be using the world of Aird, and and then waiting for the starter set to come out, because I want to see if that's what I'm going to utilize for the organized play, and and go from there, and then create a little adventure, that's a 3-4 hour one-shot adventure that I can run, and then encourage others, at that convention. So I'm really shooting out to, almost a year, just short of a year, because that convention is in April. And so I think that the 8-9 months of planning before it actually happens should work well. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, you can still see I have everything set up behind me over here, and I was just starting to take notes of some of the named NPCs that I'm going to be putting in place there. So yeah, it's going to be a big project, and it's going to be something that I'm going to really flesh out that starter town, and then have the players probably spend several weeks literally just in that town and the immediate outskirts of that town, and then slowly build out from there. So I'm really looking forward to it. I might even include a quasi mega dungeon in there. So it will be certainly the runes that I put into the town itself. Those ruins are going to be something that the players will start to have their characters delve into at first level, and then maybe up through like third level or so. That's how much the dungeon will carry them through to, and then they'll start exploring beyond that, beyond their village kind of thing. So really looking forward to it, and looking to dedicate that amount of time to building out a world even as micro as just a fairly large village, small town kind of setting. And then I'm planning on spending about 6-7 months just developing that. So goes into a lot of prep work for a game master, castle keeper for Castles and Crusades, to really get a campaign launched. So let's see, what else have I been looking at over the last couple weeks. So I did a live stream. Obviously I did the live stream with Stephen Chenault on the channel, talking about tariffs and their impact on gaming in particular, and asked him about how Troll Lord Games has seemed to have been kind of like a step ahead on much of that's going on. And just today, it was announced that the United States and the United Kingdom have come to a deal that is going to be a mutually beneficial deal between the two, and it's pretty much maintaining the 10% tariff that had been there, in existence already. And so that should be really good news for those that are looking at Warhammer or any of the other things coming out of the UK, and vice versa, things going from the United States to there as well. Now, there's been a long-standing issue with shipping costs, just in general. That was long before, this new administration. I mean, that goes back probably about 4 or 5 years. I think even before COVID, it was still there too. So it's always been very expensive to bring stuff over, and I don't know what that's related to. Whether it's DHL or just the other air shipping, air freight services are just expensive going from Europe to the United States. So I know that's not related specifically to tariffs, because prior to this, it was still only 10% back then as well. So that doesn't account for a book being sent at $26 cost. So I think there's other outlier things there, but these trade deals, I think, are going to start coming through. I know the president just said today that the UK was intentionally there first, that they wanted to strike a deal with, and then the others will probably fall in line. Gaming related, I know that Italy is a supplier of miniatures paints, and so that's something also gaming related. And I know that Italy was kind of on board with striking a deal as well. They might be one of the 70 deals or so that were supposedly already proposed, and they're going to go through them in order. And like I said, the first one today was the deal with the UK, and that should be good news for those that are, like I said, really into Warhammer and other gaming materials that are coming out of the UK. So we'll see how it expands. I think that eventually China is going to come on board with some kind of a deal that is at least slightly better than what it was prior to. And, I would predict that in less than a year, this will be all sorted out. And everyone will have, in the midterm, I think everyone will be in a better place than they were 6 months ago, let's say. So anyway, so it's good news is good news, and striking that deal with the UK is good news for gamers. Again, especially those that are looking at Warhammer and the peripherals around Warhammer as well. Let's see what else has been going on that I've been kind of following and everything. I'm looking at, I missed comic book of the day kind of thing, whatever that's called, comic book day on Saturday. So I didn't get a chance to go out to I actually went out to my local comic book store on Friday, and I delivered the 3 flyers for the 3 upcoming conventions that I'm going to. So I brought him, and I'll grab the flyers here so I can share those 3 conventions that I shared with him. And this is a guy his comic book store used to be in my town, and then he moved, quite a ways away. But I still went to his store, and his store is like 3 times the size of what it used to be. So he's doing pretty well for comics primarily. And then he does the card games, obviously. So he's doing Magic the Gathering and everything. But here are the 3 flyers that I brought to him to be posted in his store. And the first one is for AutoCon. And AutoCon is a small gaming convention that is going to be on June 7th. So literally just 2 months from yesterday. And it's just a one-day convention in Pleasant Valley, New York. And I had Fred and his wife Mary on the channel for a live stream, and it was great to interview them. Really good to see them, at least on screen. I can't wait to see them in person. And I will be running Shadow Dark, my Shadow Dark adventure, Shards of Ymir, and then I'll be playing in one of Fred's games there. So it's only time to do 2 things, in the one day convention, and hopefully that convention kind of expands and becomes bigger. And I'm hoping to actually touch bases with Fred and Mary and see how I might be able to help in expanding it and it growing beyond the the 75 to 100 person capacity that it's currently at. So looking forward to that. Then the very following weekend, all right, is June 14th and 15th, and that is the Central New York convention. So Central New York role-playing game convention. That is in New Hartford, New York. So don't confuse Hartford with Connecticut. It's New Hartford, New York. I will be running 2 games there. I am running Shadow Dark, and I am running Fallout. Big demand on Fallout. There's room in my Shadow Dark game that I'm running at 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Then I have from like 2 to 6 o'clock free. So I'm really looking to touch bases with a bunch of people there. I know that Eric Tenkar is going to be there. I know that Diversity and Dragons is going to be there. I know that Joe the Lawyer is going to be there. Joseph Block from Adventures Dark and Deep is going to be there. I'm actually playing in his game Sunday morning, his war game Sunday morning. So nice experience there, doing something I haven't done in forever. And Greg Gillespie is going to be there. So I'll probably pick up my copy of Dragon Slayer when I go. That's going to be the one thing that I'm pretty sure I'm going to walk out with a copy of that, and I'll start talking about that game system sometime after June 7th, and then I'll see who else is going to be there. So I'm really looking forward to it. I know that some people like Ducato is going to be there, and I'll see if we're playing in a few games with each other. Michael, who's here in the chat, is also going to be there. So looking forward to to meeting with you and playing with you. I think we're in a game together, or you might even be in one of my games. So I'm looking forward to that. And and we'll see others. We'll see who else is going to be there. And so I have that nice 4-hour block of just open time that I can walk around, and I'll do some interviews, and I will meet other people along the way, and do some shopping. So that's something I changed in my recent I spoke about this in my last video as well. You'll be at AutoCon. Yeah, awesome, Michael. So I'm going to see you in less than 2 months, and that's going to be awesome. So I'm going to change up how I am participating at conventions. I am if it's a 2-day convention, I'm only going to run 2 sessions of probably 2 different games, and then the rest of the time I'm going to be looking to play or interview and whatnot. My days of going to a convention and running 2 sessions or even 3 sessions each day, it just wears me out too quickly, and I don't feel like I'm experiencing the convention as a player, as much as just running. I mean, I certainly love running games. It's something that I think is really important for you to like hone your skill as a game master, and the best place for that, in my opinion, is conventions. But yeah, I want to experience other people's games as well, and I've had great experiences doing so. I've played in Jeffrey Talanian's Hyperborea. I've played in Alan Hammock's running of the Ghost Tower of Inverness. I played in Zeb Cook's game that he was running a Oriental Adventures adventure, and I played in Chuck Cumbo's CNC converted White Plume Mountain as well. So I've played Frank Metzner, of course. I've played in his games as well. So it's something that I really do enjoy, as especially playing in people's games where they designed it themselves, or went through the converting from one system to another, and so it's theirs. And like I said, upcoming, I'll be playing in Joseph Bloch's his miniatures. Looks like a skirmish kind of war game kind of thing. So I'm really looking forward to that. I believe it's a recreation of a Greyhawk battle during the Great Greyhawk War. So really excited about delving into that as well. So Central New York is the next one, and then finally in September 26th and 27th is going to be ShireCon. Now, nothing for ShireCon is booked yet, so I haven't submitted any game sessions in there, and I might very well go to ShireCon and only run one game, and the rest of the time I want to play. And again, I want to see what goes up there. I want to see who's going to be there, so that I can kind of like, hey, I want to play in this game or that game. I mean, previously I played an Eric Tankard's game as well. So he's another individual that I've played in his game previously. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to running some other systems. Like I am waiting on. I'm waiting on. Now I just backed Gangbusters, the expanded version or the expert version of Gangbusters BX. So I just backed that today. That is coming through Wizard Tower Games. All right, so that's Don Samora, and so it's coming through his company, his publishing company, and really looking forward to getting that in my hands because that's a game system. One of my most successful adventures that I've written and published on Drive-Through RPG was my Gangbusters adventure. So really looking to take that and run with it and do some writing for that as well. That will be another 2026 project. So let's see. Do you have any birthright? No, I don't. I don't have any birthright. I have just of the second and third edition. Like I have most of the splat books of the second edition, and if you've been following my my shorts, you've been seeing that my short videos have been covering just the splat books that I have in my second edition. I'm not doing deeper dives on those unless you actually ask me to do so. But I don't have any setting books for second edition or third edition. I just have the core rule books. And then, like I said, for second edition, I have all of the player focused splat books for those. Yeah, so I don't even have Forgotten Realms. I've never had Forgotten Realms, and to be honest with you, and I'm sure some people will attack me for this, I was never that crazy for Forgotten Realms. It wasn't something that I tried to read several of the books, Ed Greenwood's books, and I think two of them I tried to read them, and it just didn't grab a hold of me. Now I did like R.A. Salvatore's, like the first three Drizzt books, but I couldn't get into the fourth. I was kind of losing focus of it already. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. So let's see. Hey, Paul, how's it going? Planning my events list for Gen Con. Some of these ticket prices have gotten ridiculous. Yeah, I was just looking at $40 to play test a new game for Goodwin Games for 3 hours. No, thanks. No, I wouldn't. You should pay me to play test your game. Yeah, there's another YouTuber out there, the Blind Bard, and she was talking about going to a convention, I believe this weekend, and slipping my mind which one, but I just went to double check. It might be PAX. It's PAX East, so she's going to PAX East, and I was like, you know what? I mean, Boston's not terribly far from here. I could do a day trip, and then stop off, in New York City in the Bronx and spend the night over there because it's even shorter than coming back home again. And it was like $73 a day for a daily ticket. It was like 200 and something for the weekend. I was like, that's crazy. That's crazy. I would never spend that kind of money for a convention. Just way too expensive. Yeah, so I was like, unfortunately, no. So I like the smaller, more reasonably priced ones. So let's see. I have some issues with GG. I guess it's like Goodman Games and how Joe does things. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I almost thought you were talking about Greyhawk Grognard and Joe because they're both the same, But yeah, GG and Goodman Games. Yeah, I just missed. I briefly listened to a little bit of Eric Tankar's video just before this. Actually, I noticed it, and he was talking about the Goodman Games' response to some of the fervor over, people complaining that he is reviving some Judges Guild materials to bring it into the Dungeon Crawl Classics, game system, and and at some point, and I had this come up with, Conan, when I was talking about, the game systems that I think you should, if you have it, you should be running it. If you see it being run, you should play in it. And if you don't have it, get your hands on it. And that was what the Conan 2D20 from Modiphius. And, whether we're talking about H.P. Lovecraft or Robert E. Howard or, J.R. Tolkien or, some people have issues with George Martin, or even Varg Vikernes, or, any of these game designers. And now the guys, I almost say Bledsoe, but it's not Bledsoe. It's something very similar. I conflate it with the football player, but it was like the father and son making these comments and everything. But at some point, I think that those of us in the hobby need to kind of say, what, if it's not in the game itself, if it's not in the adventure module itself, I'm going to use it anyway, and they just need to turn and say, you aren't going to buy this anyway, so why do I even bother listening to you? Bledsoe. All right. So yeah, I think Bledsoe, but it's Bledsoe. And to be honest, I'm not that familiar with their materials because, I was playing D&D at the time. I was focusing on what TSR was putting out and not what Judges Guild was putting out. I don't own a single thing from Judges Guild. But I do understand that they made great stuff back in the day. And same with Goodman Games. I mean, they made great stuff back in the day. And here I see them kind of, just bending to the outrage mob, instead of just saying, listen, this is quality stuff. None of the controversy is actually embedded in the game that, or the materials that it's in there. And we're using it, and if you don't like it, you weren't buying it to begin with. All right. So that's what I think is important for, companies to start saying, is just forget about these people that are, quite honestly, I call them hobby tourists, because they're not looking at the gaming material as a separate entity from the authors that write it, and, it's just, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of hearing that kind of nonsense. I legitimately don't care. All right. What someone's outside politics are, as long as it doesn't bleed into the game. All right. And, now that doesn't mean that I'm going to buy something of someone who is a child predator or something. That's where I draw the line. And I had this conversation with Blueberry Wolfbridge. We had this great conversation on a live stream, talking about, where do we draw the line? And I kind of draw the line at that. Certainly, you harm a child, I don't want anything to do with you. I will not give you a penny. I won't talk about your stuff. I won't do anything with it. But other than that, I couldn't care less. I really couldn't care less, as long as it's not in the game itself. All right. So that's where I stand on it. And don't come at me with, oh, well, H.P. Lovecraft, fuck off with that nonsense. The guy's been dead for 100 years, and honestly, don't care. It's like same thing with Robert E. Howard. Oh, it's problematic today. Well, screw this today. Don't come at me with your chronocentrism, with judging the past based on our view of society today. You need to be more historical about the things and realize that there were different sensibilities then, and what was proper then was proper then, and it's going to be different now, regardless. So I'm not gonna waste my time with that kind of nonsense. I'm going to continue being a huge fan of H.P. Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard and Tolkien and others, that I think that their work is legitimately gaming materials that are a step above others. And in like Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard, head and shoulders above others. Tolkien even above them. So yeah, don't come at me with that kind of nonsense. I'm not going to waste my time with it, and I'm certainly not going to bend the knee to it either. So let's see. Goodman Games had nothing to do with the failed Kickstarter. Why shouldn't they re-release this and let it see the light of day? Exactly. Let it go out there, and and again, I'm sure that their political views are not in the city state of the invincible warlord. They're just trying to, they're trying to cancel culture after the fact, and it's like, I don't know when the city state of the invincible warlord was written, probably like 40 years ago. And so they're worrying about something that was written 40 years ago. People walked away from, so this is another one, Mark Barker, and that guy is long dead, and nothing of the Empire of the Petal Throne remotely emphasizes his questionable worldview. It's petty virtue signaling, and I think that we just need to say, just shoo them away, and just, they're tourists. They're not true. They're not true hobbyists. They're tourists. They're not here for the love of the game, and they're not here to uplift those that pave the way, and are the legends and the creators of this hobby, and so I think that we should just, tell them to, F off. We don't need you here. They add nothing to the hobby. So let's see what else. I'll get off my soapbox now. Yeah, it's if he wrote a game and the game was good, I would probably be all right. Well, you know what, the game system itself is good. Even though I wouldn't, go out of my way to support, if the money for buying the book was going to him, then I certainly wouldn't buy it. But that's neither here nor there. I've never read a copy of Mein Kampf, which is the only thing that I think he's ever written that I'm aware of. Yeah, so 1976. So I couldn't care less. They're complaining about something written in 1976, and it's being brought out, upgraded to, DCC and made available to players to enjoy something that is truly old school, but wrapped in a new school, setting and whatnot, and game system and whatnot. So yeah, I'm not wasting my time with that kind of nonsense. And thank you, Poor Orc Child. So let's see what else has been going on, and just looking at that. So that's another, gaming controversy is this stuff. Just stop bending the knee, please. All right. Moving on. So going back to the comic book day thing, I was going to try to get the free Critical Role comic book. So there was a new Critical Role comic book coming out, and I wanted to see if it was going to give any indication of where they're possibly going to go. Now, I don't have a direct, I've never watched more than pieces of a few episodes of Critical Role, their live action play. That's not really my thing to watch other people play games. I'd rather run my own game, or play as a player in a game, so I've never really watched it, but I know that there's a lot of focus on where they may go next. All right. And there's a few things that I'm fairly certain on. And that is that their new season, it will almost definitely not be 5e or 5.5, or it certainly won't be D&D 2024, 2025. Would make no sense whatsoever if they launched with that system, because not enough 5e players went to 2024 to build off of that, and they would be shooting themselves in the foot for not running Daggerheart, and not using Daggerheart for it, and on one of the people's, I forget, it was the character sheet YouTube channel, I had written, when I go to buy a car, all right, we have 4 family cars, myself, my 2 daughters, my wife. When I go in to buy a car, or to lease a car, or whatever, I always ask the salesperson, well, what do you drive? And if they ever told me, well, I go to a Honda dealer, right? If they ever told me, well, I drive a Fiat, instead of a Honda, I'd walk right out. All right. Or I certainly wouldn't deal with that person there. I would walk right out, because if you're not using your own product, why would I buy from you? And I say the same thing to Critical Role, so if Matt Mercer is going to stand there and he's going to say that, season 4, is not going to use Daggerfall, why would anybody in their right mind buy Daggerfall? It's just a no-brainer that they're going to try to Daggerfall. I call it Daggerfall, Daggerheart. Thank you. Daggerheart. Nobody would buy it. Why would they? It's exactly like how Wizards of the Coast kind of shot themselves in the foot by not admitting that D&D 2024 is a new edition. They kept on trying to, sit on that fence of saying, oh, it's going to be backwards compatible. If it's so backwards compatible, then I don't need to buy the new one. And then all of a sudden the new one doesn't sell. And then they're scratching their heads like, oh, we don't understand why. It's just pure stupidity. It's just not understanding that if you're trying to sell something, you have to go all in, fully confident in what you're producing. And they don't have any confidence in anything that they produce. And that's why they keep on time and time again putting out something and then withdrawing their own support for it. It's almost like they're afraid to hype up their own products. And if you're not willing to hype up your own products, nobody's going to buy it. I saw this for the first time with Wizards of the Coast, with Sword Coast Legends. So Sword Coast Legends was an MMO. Well, sort of an MMO. It was an adventure game that was multiplayer, but it wasn't quite massively multiplayer. And it was designed to either launch the sales of Descent into Avernus book, or the Descent of Avernus was meant to launch the sales of that video game. And as soon as the book launched and didn't do well, they abandoned the game. All right. And when I say abandoned the game, they completely abandoned the game. Like within 6 months of its launch, they had shut down its servers, that you couldn't play with other players anymore. You could only play it as an individual player. And I think that even that they have shut down, to the point that I don't even think individual play is still there. So everything that they produce is meant to sell a different product. All right. And not the thing that they made. And so it's like, we can see through that. We can see that you're the car salesman that drives a different brand of car than you're selling, and that's where I think that's where I think that they fail. All right. And they will continue to fail, because they just don't have confidence in what they're producing. Yeah, Troll Lords is doing so much, and thankfully some of the stuff is actually starting to come out. Like I just got my copies of the Armory book set, so those are awesome. I mean, they're just absolutely incredible. I can't wait to start digging into those and start to use those various weapons and everything that are in there. I mean, it's just a treasure trove of weapons for both humans and demi-humans and humanoids. And then there's war mounts, which is crazy, how many war mounts and everything. So that's going to be awesome. Their starter set is coming out. I know Paul just mentioned that. I'm going to get down to that in a second, Paul. I don't I don't know much about Critical Role outside of the tiers on the OSR side of the aisle, but I tried Daggerheart at GaryCon and enjoyed it. All right. Outside the tiers of the R side of the aisle, I don't know if I wouldn't say that I certainly don't cry about Critical Role. As far as coming from the OSR side, I couldn't care less, because I know that they started with Pathfinder first. Then they moved to 5e, yes, and they're probably going to move on to their own game system. So I don't really see it as I don't blame them for their opportunism to latch on to 5e once 5e started to really explode. And 5e, might have directly exploded because of them. As a matter of fact, more so than the system itself. And they don't even run 5e. If you look at it, they don't really run any kind of a game system, in a sense that they're more of a narrative storytelling kind of a situation, that you're not truly playing the game. Critical Role doesn't truly play the game. And I've heard many say that they often just don't follow the rules at all. So they're or very, very differently. I think that's also partly because people don't recognize that it started out as Pathfinder, and that's why you have a Goliath, and you have a Pistolier, whatever that is called in Pathfinder, but still claiming it was 5e. At which point they introduced them into 5e to kind of make up for it. So trying to glom off of what Critical Role was introducing. So they really ripped it off from Pathfinder. WotC ripped it off from Pathfinder. Yeah, and I'm kind of the same way. Like I've seen some parts of it, and I don't think I've ever watched a full episode. I've just gone through and looked at the time, like when they had that big controversy in, I believe it was like in episode 26, when a player character died. And there was a big to-do, because player characters aren't supposed to die in 5e. And so when one did, there was, the big, you know, big hoopla about it. And so I looked into it just to watch the situation. And I give them a lot of credit for actually killing having the character die, because that's how the dice rolled, you know. And so that's, to me, that's good DMing. When you're rolling in public, the roll is the roll, and you go with what the dice, basically say. And so anyway, it's kind of funny how and thank you, Hermit. Good to see you here. It's kind of funny how a few of the big names behind D&D left after the 2024 launch. Yeah, I think that um, they might have actually seen uh, they might have actually seen the OGL issue, and the removal of the OGL in the with the new SRD and their new statement for DM's Guild coming out, whether that was leaked or finally a statement was concerned. But again, I've been watching this on others. I believe the Greyhawk Grognard was the one that broke this story, and looking at that, and my thing is, like, I don't care what Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro does with D&D, because that's not my D&D. I don't consider that D&D anyway. So I'm currently running a D&D first edition for a second long-term uh, campaign. My more previous one from 2020, I believe it ran from like 2022 through 2023 and into early 2024. It was 2 years and 3 months that I ran that campaign of weekly game sessions. And then, I'm currently running one again, and I'm into like session um, six-ish, somewhere around there. And yeah, I don't see myself going back or ever going to a different edition of Dungeons and Dragons than than a D&D first edition. I mean, I might do Beckme or something like that, but for the most part, I'm locked in on a D&D first edition. Um, my other game systems are Castles and Crusades. As you can see, I'm running Amazing Adventures right now. We're quite a good ways into an Amazing Adventures. I run Shadow Dark. I'm running a Shadow Dark game on Saturdays, and that's going along really well. So I have enough things going on that I don't need to spend any time with WotC and their stuff. So yeah, I don't think that, I think that those guys were seeing that, it's not selling well. All right. And that's why they left. And I wouldn't be surprised if they both turn up at some other gaming company within 6 months or so, because neither of them are old enough to just retire, So I would not be surprised if they turn up at other gaming companies. And I don't think either of, whether it's Perkins or you know Perkins, Crawford, or Whittinger before them, I don't think that they had all that much design capabilities to begin with. They just borrowed a lot and repackaged it and such. I don't have a great deal of respect of their chops when it comes to game design. I think that others were better than them for certain. Mike Merles, I think, certainly had a better understanding of game design than either of those two did. And I don't think that anybody else there actually has the ability to write anything unique and different and decent. So again, it doesn't matter to me whatsoever. There's nothing that they're going to put out that I would waste my time with. Too much other great stuff out there. So let's see. So dice sales. Rats fleeing a sinking ship. Not that I consider them rats, but only analogy. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that they're decent people. I just don't think that they really respected the game that much, and certainly didn't respect the original creators that much at all. Um, yeah, they're setting up a new starter set, and the new starter set is supposed to be more geared towards a younger player, to introduce a younger player to the system as well. So remains to be seen. I backed it right away. When I saw it, I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to jump on that thing," because I just wanted. I like my white box. I like the Castles and Crusades white box as well. Um, but this one here, I'm thinking will probably be a better display piece on the table at a convention. For all intents and purposes, it's a spiritual successor of D&D, and the barrier to entry needs to be as light as possible. Yes, I certainly agree with that. And I think that's what they're going for. 5e made for better stream games too. A lot less crunchy and downtime than Pathfinder. Yeah, and that's probably so. Plus, again, they ignored most of the rules. They did not spend a lot of time with the rules there. I hope the new city state module includes the original as well. I would buy that in a heartbeat, but the 5e DCC version, meh. All right. Yeah, well, I wouldn't bother buying the 5e version of it, but I'm probably not going to get it anyway. Um, it's because CR is theater, yes. And they basically admitted that. All right. Travis Willingham, or whatever his name is, he actually recently said, yeah, the third season, the players really didn't know kind of where they were going and what they were doing and whatnot. So it sounded like, he had a plot that they were supposed to follow, and they were kind of not following the plot. And so they had to make a lot of changes, and that's why season 3 did not do as well as the other previous seasons. But for the most part, anything that's going into its third is usually declining along the way. It's like, the first is always the best, and the second is like, all right, passable sometimes. Very, very rare cases is the second better than the first. Um, you know, Maybe Terminator 2 was better than Terminator 1. Um, was Aliens better than Alien? Possibly. There's some instances. Um, you know, Jaws 2 was not better than Jaws 1. Um, Star Wars, the original three, the ladders were better. Empire Strikes Back was an awesome. So there the third movie was much better. But we'll continue. Yeah, I don't have 5 hours to sit down and watch people roll dice. If I'm going to spend 5 hours, I'm going to run my own game. 4 hours a week is quite an investment to watch other people gaming. Too much. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah, I'm not familiar with Harmon Quest. So let's see. I'm just looking. So I think, yeah, Mike Merles is with Chaosium now, which is kind of a weird fit, I think. I'll be curious to see what Merles does at Chaosium, whether Chaosium has him do something along the lines, because he's writing his own system. I see that on Twitter, Twitter X, whatever you want to call it. I see that he's writing his own system. So maybe he's creating a system for Chaosium, and it'll be a fantasy-based system. Perkins is working on RuneQuest, or you mean Merles is working on RuneQuest? I don't think Perkins has declared where he's going to, but I'm certain he will. Oh, it's coming in June? Awesome. Yeah, awesome. So it might actually be ready for me to, well, certainly be ready for me to use for 2026. Might be ready for me to use for ShireCon. So, yeah, cool. But I think he's writing his own. Well, I'm fairly certain he's writing his own as well, which will probably publish through Chaosium. So let's see what else has been going on. So we talked a little bit of Critical Role. We talked a little bit about tariffs. We talked about some conventions coming up. If anyone wants to join in, I'm sorry, I forgot to do this. If anyone wants to come in, there we go. You can come right into the stream and you'll go backstage and I'll bring you on in. But if anyone wants to join in, and let me take care of this other thing. Let me give away the first 5 freebies, memberships here. So let's do this, membership gifting, and we're going to share 5 of these. So let's see who got Post Angst, Gen Xer, Dr. Phobos, Mark Hansen, KDF Gaming, and Louise Ricon. If I pronounce that wrong, I apologize for that. Agile Monk has been 10-month valued supporter, and I thank you so much for your continued support. Gonna roll out. Well, you have a great one. You have a great one. Always good to see you, and enjoy your upcoming weekend. I know I said this earlier in my video. I was like, I lost track of that. Tonight is Thursday. It keeps on feeling like a Friday to me. But you enjoy your upcoming weekend, and good to see you in here. And yep. So let's see. Mike Merles is writing his own D&D variation. I am on his Patreon. All right. Why is he doing a D&D variation? Why does it? That's what's getting me. Is like, just to make a clean break. Go with something. Go with something. If not completely different, just go with something that's different enough that it's not just a D&D variant. This is why I completely abandoned the whole idea of Project Black Flag. When Kobold Press first came out, and they were like, right after the OGL, and they were like, we're going to create a whole new system. And then not 5 days later, they were like, it's going to be a variant, basically a watered down version of 5e. And then they turned around and they made it, even more powerful, at first level, which I was like, so you want to move the superheroes from being 3rd level and above to being 1st level and above. And it was like, that's just the one thing that no one had asked for. So it was really, really disappointing to see that they folded basically in such quick, short order, and then they were even more apologetic about it. We're like, well, we don't want to abandon our whole back catalog of 5e. Yeah, you should have. Yeah, you should have said, hey, we're gonna sell this stuff off. I mean, that's what Troll Lord Games did. Troll Lord Games just started putting a massive discount on everything that they had done, written for use with 5e, and to the point now that I don't even think they have anything left in stock of that. And that's that's the way to handle it. Make a clean break, from them. Don't give them, let them die on the vine is what I say, and they should have done that. Well, thank you, Dice Tales. Yeah, I try to keep it kind of free flowing and everything. Again, if anyone wants to jump in, I put that invite up there. If you want to bring in your own things, or I'll just keep on checking on the comments here and pulling you in from that. We are going to go on. We need more BX clones that promise to completely change your role-playing experience. Well, we have Gangbusters BX that just relaunched. It's the advanced version of it, so it's the expert version of Gangbusters BX by Mark Hunt, and that's put out by and definitely check it out. I mean, definitely check that out, because that I think is a game that you could have a lot of fun with. Again, I've run it. I've run the I've written an adventure for it, and so I am looking forward to running that at a convention in 2026. Yeah, he's on a special project with them. Yeah, so I mean, I wish him all the luck. I checked out Black Flag when I hear everyone gets luck. 5e characters are powerful enough without everyone getting to re-roll stuff. Yeah. Um, you know, I mean, if you're going to have player characters re-rolling stuff, like you have like a momentum system, or a rolling with advantage and whatnot, or tokens and everything, which there is, the challenge has got to be really high in order to offset that. Again, in my opinion, the challenge has got to be up there, and it has to be kind of balanced, where you still have the players feeling like they're on edge, and yet they still have a slightly better chance of getting through. But if it's an unlucky roll, and then they got to use up their tokens, and if they run out of tokens, they know that they're pretty much screwed. And it's got to go back and forth like that. It can't be, I'm going to steamroll this and then total party killed that, in the next scene. It's got to be something where it just keeps on, keeps on that pressure, but keep on giving them a slight chance to get through these heavy challenges. And so that, I think, is a great balance for you to try to strike when you're playing games that have hero points or luck points or tokens or whatnot, momentum and doom and that kind of stuff. Yeah, Tales of the Valiant is superhero 5e, which is crazy, because 5e is superheroes to begin with. So that's why I was like, oh no, I'm out of this. That's just a waste of my time. And then the other one was that other guy with the eye patch was doing that thing, and he did Vagabond, which I haven't heard anything since. I think it failed so miserably that he stopped talking about tabletop RPGs for quite some time after it. And basically all that was again, it was another game system that was just a 5e clone, and it was like, you're still going to be using their SRD, and you're still using their rules to the most part. You're making the characters more powerful, not less powerful. And it's why Shadow Dark actually overtook all of them, was because Shadow Dark characters are at a lot more risk of dying than in any of those other game systems, including Indestructible. Yeah, so I think he might have made a return like after about like 4 or 5 months. He might have made a return to the gaming, but I don't think I've seen a video from him in a long time, or I certainly haven't looked for it. But yeah, that's the guy. Which famously, I think Diversity and Dragons put on his channel where Indestructible is like he has leanings towards femboys and and something else and socialists. And I was like, oh, okay, so we know exactly where you're coming from. Kind of weird, but all virtue signaling, of course. So, but anyway, so it's still why I still love OD&D. Death lurks around every corner at every level. Yeah, I mean it's in my AD&D first edition campaign, we're, let's say, 5 sessions in, and I've had 1 player character die, 2 player characters nearly die, and that is just in 5 sessions. So it's a dramatically more challenging version of Dungeons and Dragons than what 5e is. So let's see, what else have we been looking at? So, I mean, other YouTubers that I kind of, I stopped following or I don't give them very much, airtime at all is, there's several out there that, they're just too unhinged for me to follow. And, and to delve into some of the things that they're saying and following along. I know one is on the, very hyped up on Orion Okaba and Critical Role and how, he deserves to be put back on Critical Role. And I'm sure many of you know who I'm talking about. And I'm just not going to engage with that. There's several YouTubers that I don't see them as being very serious, and so I don't talk too much about the things that they're talking about in relation to them and responding to them. But I do look at the things that they're talking about as it relates to the gaming sphere, and how does it really go into what we might be experiencing or worrying about and such. And so that's why I brought up the tariffs issue, because that's huge news today. And it is gaming news because it is going to impact those things. And yes, it is on my shelf. So I just noticed that, and yes, I was talking about him as well. So yes, I recently picked that up. So I have. Let me grab these 3 things. I'll grab. So I will show you without destroying everything. So yes. So there's the Dragonlance. I picked that up a while back. I picked up, all 27 episodes of the Dungeons and Dragons, and this was a steal. All right, so I got all of the 250 issues of Dragon Magazine, and I think I paid something like $60 for that. So that's an awesome resource. It's just hard to find disc players that will play it, because it's a DVD, but it's like a I forget what they call them. It's a shit. I forget. Is it a DVD ROM? I believe it's like a DVD ROM, what they used to call a DVD ROM, and it will run. It used to run on my external DVD player, and then I could bring up all of the all of the magazines and everything. Like I said, it's a great resource. I love having it. I haven't checked out to see if the Dragonlance actually works. Yeah, I have to check out and see if this actually does go through. No, it does say US. So it does say US. So it will play in US. I know my cartoon, the cartoon series plays in the US. There's only a couple that I have that don't work in the US. I have the movies. So I also have I do have the movies. So there's the Dungeons and Dragons movies that I have. That plays here. I can watch that in the US. I think and then these two. So if you're looking at videos and stuff, these are the two most D&D movies ever created, right? So you have Hawk the Slayer, and we have and then Dragon Slayer. So those are the two most D&D movies I think ever created, and always good to have some stuff to watch there. I must have watched Hawk the Slayer 50 times. That's one of the movies I can keep on going back to. I try to stay within my element and open to good gaming ideas, but I stay away from the self-proclaimed socialites and communists. Yeah. There were so many DVD-ROM formats, rewritable DVD on DVD-R, and none of them worked very well on most CD-ROM drives. Yeah. So I think I have the Solomon Kane is one that's very, very hard to find something that actually runs it. And I think that's because it's formatted for UK. And that's tied up in some kind of a dispute, which is why you'll never see it on streaming. Kiefer Sutherland doing voice work for a Dragonlance movie blew my mind. He must have needed a paycheck. I was probably very younger, much younger than two. What year was this? They make it so hard to see the years of things. 2008. So 2008, that's 17 years ago. Yeah, so that was 17 years ago that they made that. Anyway, yeah, so there's, like I said, there's other YouTubers out there that I do follow, and some really, really good ones, and then there's ones that they're kind of a waste of time, and I don't bother very much with them, whether they're just reading off of N-World or talking about nonsense. Yeah, it's a great movie. I forget how I've seen it, but it's really, really hard to find it playing anywhere. And like I said, the disc that I have, it's hard to, I forget which one of my systems would actually run it. Another great movie is one of my favorite is Dread, which I have on streaming. So that's a great movie to have as well, even though it's not D&D, but it's certainly an awesome movie. Very, very underrated movie. The 13th Warrior is a great movie too. That's a good D&D-esque movie to check out. So I recommend that as well. So anyway, yeah, so that's been pretty much my my last 2 weeks or so in gaming has been, getting a bunch of stuff in from Troll Lord Games, and yeah, Dread. I've been hearing a lot of talk about Dread having a second movie, doing a second movie. Um, I believe, I must say Keith Urban. It's Carl Urban is open to it. I don't know, whom else might be open to it. Forget the female actress's name. I don't mean Headley. Her character was killed off, so she can't go into it. The other one's name was, I think it was like Thurby, something Thurby, like Olivia Thurby. Played his partner in that. I'm sure. Like I've only seen her in one other movie, so I don't even know if she still does anything. But yeah, that was a great movie. That was an incredible movie. So yeah, I don't know if they can make that movie today as good as they made it then. That's the other thing, is that it's, you know, I don't think Hollywood has that ability like they had, because that movie was like 2012. Believe it or not, the 13 years since then, um, we've seen a real collapse in creativity, and and that's across most entertainment. And they can't make movies like that anymore. They don't have the capability of doing it, and I don't think that they have the sensibilities to say, hey, you know what, we're going to make something that's going to be entertaining and fun, and and maybe a little grittier than what most people are used to, and we're rolling with that. They can't make movies like that anymore. Um, it's very rare, to sit back and to really enjoy a movie like we used to be able to make. Yeah, it's 100% remake after remake after remake, um, and they don't even do them well, which is even worse. It's like, so hey, we're going to remake this movie, and it's like their actors and actresses are nowhere near as good as the originals. And I mean, the only thing they can do better today than they did back then was special effects, and yet sometimes they even screw that up, because they're using CGI and everything, and it looks like CGI. So it's like, you have all this advanced technology and it still looks like shit. So it's it's just not a good time for Hollywood. And I don't think that they have the capacity to make good movies. Um, I mean, I might see. It's so forgettable. Like, I sat through a movie about a week and a half ago. Oh, it was the second, The Accountant 2. All right. The Accountant 2, I actually enjoyed that movie. All right. And 2 weeks later, I have almost completely forgotten about it. That's the kind of quality. Sure, I enjoyed it while I watched it, and 2 weeks later, it's already gone. And I probably would not go out of my way to watch it again, because there was just nothing really beyond the 2 hours that I sat there watching it. There's nothing beyond that really brings me back into it. I haven't seen that movie yet, Godzilla minus one. There are a lot of people. A lot of people say it was a great movie. I just haven't seen it. I like to see more, fantasy animated movies. Yeah, that might be the only way that they can actually get away with doing a really good fantasy movie. Um, and whether it be, most likely have to come from Japan, in order for it to not be excessively woke, and very bloody and entertaining and whatnot. So Yeah, they left creativity behind. Yeah, yeah, that was definitely um, definitely something that was not passed on from one generation to the next. I did see one movie I did enjoy, The Legend of Ochi. Kind of weird, kind of kids movie, great puppeteering. Yeah, cool. But again, it's not a Hollywood movie, right? It's a foreign movie and probably Japanese. So so yeah, so like I said, I've been looking at various things. I have my castles and crusades rolling in. I have amazing adventures that I'm running. I am waiting on more stuff from Troll Lord Games, and then the next thing I started looking at 3.5. All right, so I will get back to doing that series as well, talking about 3.5 and where 3.5 is really an expansion of beyond how it was better than 3.3 3.0 or 2.0 and and then maybe because I do have fourth edition. Maybe I will spend some time looking over fourth edition, what I have not looked at yet. Um, so I do have some other D&D stuff that I haven't really delved into. I will continue doing my shelf tour, going through the rest of these shelves that I have here, and then we'll see what next game system I'm expecting to get in the mail. I got some more Shadow Dark third party Shadow Dark Kickstarters I'm waiting on. I have some stuff from Avengers Satanis that I'm waiting on as well. And I'm still waiting for a couple board games that. So I'm waiting on the Kickstarter that was for uh, the movie Ice and Fire. Famous, Ralph Bakshi movie Ice and Fire, and Fire and Ice. Gosh, Fire and Ice. Ice and Fire is Game of Thrones, but Fire and Ice. So I'm waiting on that. Um, I think they had to redo their miniatures. They changed the scale of their miniatures, so that should be coming maybe by the summertime. It's probably hung up in freaking limbo right now, waiting on. I don't know where those miniatures were being made. If they're being made in China, it might be further delayed, but we'll see. And then I will see. Um, Let me see. Let me go to my Kickstarter and see what else I'm waiting on. So, yeah. So I have quite a few Kickstarters that I'm waiting on. So I am waiting on Play Like an Effing Boss, or I could say fucking once. So Play Like a Fucking Boss by Venture Satanis. I'm waiting on the POD soft cover, and that is estimated delivery in June. Then I have Shadow Dark: The Western Reaches. That estimation is in December. I have Creating Monsters for Shadow Dark Bestiary. That is due in May. Um, I have the a Shadow Dark Zine Quest that is due in. I think I only bought the PDF, so I have that already, or maybe that's due soon. Estimated delivery March of 2025. One add-on. I I didn't check it off that I got it yet, so I'm waiting on that. Um, The Tower of the Outer God is a Shadow Dark adventure by Tom Wilson. That's coming out in May. I think I just recently got a thing from him as well. Um, the Chronicles presents Chaotic Chronicles presents a one shot. So one shot that's due in March. The full PDF collection with bonus March, but it hasn't shipped yet. Oh no, actually it does say shipped. It is shipped. So I should be getting that soon then. Um, I got these already. I checked that off. Immortals White Box I'm waiting on, which is kind of like White Box is a that I believe is like the recreation of Metzner's Immortals from BX and or Beck Me, I should say. And so I'm waiting on that. So that's going to be awesome to see something that really does deal with that, intended to be high level. And of course, I got my Adventure Conqueror King second edition. So I need to get back to doing those videos as well. So I always have a lot on my plate. I always have, I'm kind of scatterbrained when it comes to, just putting out so much different content out there that, sometimes I forget what I was running and then have to go back to it again. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up. We're about an hour and a half in. So thanks everyone for stopping in. You will have a great rest of your evening and enjoy your weekend. And as always, I look forward to seeing you on a gaming screen or a convention sometime soon. My next live stream will probably be sometime next week. So you will have a good one until then. And thanks for stopping in. Take care.